most of the time people are going to kind of keep you stuck. So you have to be willing to surround yourself around people who are thinking bigger than you, doing bigger things, and be careful who you take advice from.
What's up? Welcome back. Kris Krohn here with the Kris Krohn Show. And today I've got an interview with a very special guest, Krista Mashore. And I've interviewed her before. And let me tell you something that really intrigues me about her. She actually got started in the game of real estate like me, then went super heavy into the whole digital marketing arena where she has been crushing it. In fact, you can actually look on the screen and see all of her Comma Club awards that she's been earning from Russell Brunson's organization. And if that isn't proof, I don't know what is. Krista, really glad to have you here today. How are you?
I'm good, Chris. Thanks for having me. Exciting to be here.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your background and what's kind of got you where you're at in life, because you did get started in the real estate game, but then you've kind of graduated and then kind of gotten into some different things. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So I've been in real estate for 23 years.
Yeah.
I was a top 1% agent for 19 years. And about 6 years ago, I decided I wanted to start coaching agents. I used to be a teacher before that and got a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. I was like, I want to teach again. So I left real estate at the prime of my career. I think I did about 1.8 million in GCI the year I left. And yeah, I sold 154 homes. So that saying that people like, for those that can't do, then teach, that wasn't me. Like I was a full active top producing agent when I left to start teaching agents. So now I teach agents as well as entrepreneurs and coaches how to sell high ticket. So that's kind of my gig.
I like it. Out of curiosity, do you have any regrets? And you're like, man, was that the right move? Was it the wrong move?
My only regret is I should have done it sooner. I didn't realize
I know.
I mean, oh my gosh, I didn't work weekends and nights because I was really a specialist in real estate. So people would change their schedule for me, but I was like on the phone. I was that mom that was going down the zip line, closing deals. And I didn't realize how much I worked. So yes, I regret not doing it sooner.
It's interesting. I sometimes gauge my life by the decisions that I wish I would have done sooner. Like when I became financially independent the first time and I quit my job, I could have done it 2 years earlier, but I was nervous and I was scared. And I remember that year when I quit, I lost my six-figure job income. I still had my six-figure real estate income, but that year I quadrupled my income. And I was like, man, I had no idea that when I got my time back from not having a full-time job, that I was actually going to be way more financially successful. And so I made it a point. I'm like, okay, for the rest of my life, I never want to be late. I don't necessarily want to be early, but I never want to be late again. So you've been in this new game now and you're educating realtors. Have you gone even beyond that now? Like, are you still like just in the realtor niche?
So for about 5 years, I was teaching just real estate. And then we did over $1 million a month in we were averaging about 1.8 million a month in high ticket sales.
Yeah.
So I've spoke on like Jason Fladlin stage, Russell Brunson, Ryan Dice. They all had me come to speak to their masterminds on my high ticket model.
Yeah.
So over the past year, I've had people asking me, can you teach me how to do this? So what I did was for the first 12 months, I just would take people on as okay, I'll show you. And if we'll split it 50-50. Which was really good for me, really bad for them. We had people paying us over $200,000 just because they had such great launches. And so now that I know it works in different models, so now I'm also teaching other coaches, expert and consultants. It's called the $1 million a month model. We're teaching them that model, and then I'm also still coaching realtors.
There's a book out there called 10X is easier than 2X.
Yes.
And what's interesting, we all start off as an artist. And then you become a master of your artistry. And then you move to a train the trainer approach. And it's like, where do you go from there? Like when you look at where you're going next, you've run the gamut. What's next for you?
No, you're so cute. But I mean, Chris, I want to still teach more. Like my manifesto says I want to make a massive impact on the world. And so I can't do it alone. Like people say this, like, oh, I love people. I want to make an impact. But I mean, I really want to. I feel like God put me here to sort of make an impact and to really help people. You don't know this about me, but I haven't lived at home since I was 13, group home, foster home, like juvenile hall, the whole gamut. And I believe
what landed you in juvie? We're not going to pit stop there, huh?
I was running away from home. And so I ended up breaking into my 8th grade school and stealing all the girls' lunch money and clothes. So that got me thrown in the popo.
It was interesting. When I was 8 years old, when I was in 8th grade, I started my first business. I raided my mom's pantry and I took all of her sugar and added like flavor to it, like Kool-Aid and stuff, and bagged it And then I had this little satchel. And so I go to school that day with my satchel. In the first 4 hours, I had these small $2 white sugar bags. And then I have these $4 larger ones. And I cleared like $44 by lunch before I got called into the VP's office accused of selling drugs.
Oh,
And
that's so funny.
she literally takes it and she's like, starts putting up her nose and snorting. I'm like, I had no idea what the drug reference was. I was like,
Yeah.
you're doing it wrong. You put it on your tongue. And she puts it on her tongue. She's like, this is just sugar. I'm like, what did you think it was? So
Yeah, it's so
I didn't go to
funny.
juvie, but you and I could have been, friends back then.
Oh, I used to drive my bike to all the way like to AM/PM, and I'd buy licorice and I'd sell licorice for 25 cents for one thing. And I was an
Oh my
entrepreneur
gosh.
at a
Yeah,
very young age.
you and I were early entrepreneurs. I was
Yeah.
doing the same thing. I'd buy those ropes for a quarter and sell them for a
Yeah.
buck.
Me too.
I love it. Well, that's very, very cool. So you do have then this whole I want to impact the world. So right now, is it just trying to get as many coaches in the game that have more of your levels of expertise so that you can collectively be the spokes on the hub that help as many people as possible?
Yeah, so any kind of an expert. So basically, my goal is you can't be an asshole, number one, and you have to have a product that actually works. And if you do that, I can help you. We've helped, somebody, a hypnotist. We've helped people selling coaching. We've helped people in Spain. We've helped, I mean, we just had a kid do $800,000 his first launch at 23 selling funnels.
Wow.
We're helping. It works with any model as long as you have to have some skill involved,
But
obviously,
you
but
can't be an asshole.
you can't be an asshole. Yeah, you can't be an
How do
asshole.
you feel for that one? Because
You can just tell. I mean, I can tell the
yeah.
assholes. I have like an asshole meter, I think. And my team is
Is
really
it
good.
like the super high ego where you think you're better than and some of that
I
stuff?
think well, first of all, if somebody ever says, I've tried every coach in the world and none of them work, I'm like, well, I'm not going to work either. Anyways, nice talking to you.
Right.
And it's just people that don't really have regard for people. You can just tell. And I had to learn that the hard way when I first started coaching. I wanted to help everybody. And I would you just have one bad weed and it just affects your entire group. So now we're just very selective of who we choose.
But let's be honest, like marketing is also kind of hard, right? Like
Heck yeah.
you have to have scenarios where it works super well for certain scenarios and then less well maybe for others. Like if you were to pick like a golden client and leave attitude aside, let's just say they're a rock star. Like and they already have an existing product. What do you look for you think that would help someone achieve the highest levels of success more than someone else having like a good measure of success and then different obviously than someone who just kind of
a,
kerplunks?
a lot of it is energy. I mean, it's like, you can just, you meet somebody and they just, well, and authenticity. So it's energy and authenticity. The more authentic people are, and the more that they really honestly care about people, you can just tell it in their energy, their
Yeah.
authenticity. And there's so much fakeness out there right now. Like
Yeah.
everyone's putting, fake book, everyone looks, and I hate that. And you said something, it's very true. Marketing is hard, right? And so there's a ton of trial and error in it, and you have to constantly evolve and change because ad fatigue and things just happen. But if you really understand who your client is and what they're going through, and your messaging speaks directly to them to the point where they're like saying, I feel like she's talking to me, and like you really get them, I mean, you will do really well. The biggest mistake that I see most marketers making is number one, they're not really very good marketers, but number two, they don't take the time to really understand who their audience is.
Uh-huh.
And everyone always says this, like, oh, you need to have your niche and know your ideal client.
Yeah.
Like it cannot be more true because everything comes from that. The marketing, the positioning, what you're offering. I mean, everything comes from understanding who your client is.
So Krista, let's just say that I'm having a heavy dose of FOMO right now. And I'm like, okay, like I'm doing challenges online. I've got my social media that's organically producing millions of views every single week. I've got my systems and my programs, and I help people partner in real estate and do cool stuff with me. And I have businesses that do life insurance, and I've got a couple dozen businesses that I could do marketing for. And I'm like, Krista, like if you were to look at me as a prospect, what kind of things would you want to evaluate from me to know if I'd be a good match for you? And what do you think we could do together?
I've never had somebody ask me that question.
I totally want to have fun. So I'm like, okay,
That's a good one.
I'm gonna have the conversation after. I'm just gonna go double whammy.
Yeah. Okay, so let me tell you what makes a good salesperson. First of all, over the past 6 years, I have been like a relentless student of studying people selling, right? So I'll go to events, I'll go to online events, and I'm watching them sell. And the biggest mistake that most people make is they don't know how to seed the offer. They don't know how to seed belief, which is the hardest thing to do, is seeding belief in the audience. And we know that because if you looked at the data points on what I test and track, so basically we've done a virtual event 48 times. in the past 3.5 years. We did it 18 months in a row. Every single month, I would train and optimize one thing based upon comments, questions,
Yeah.
anything that we've seen. So we've got like so many data triggers on what works. So seeding belief in self is the hardest aspect because most people look at you, Kris, and they're like, oh, Kris has got these big muscles and he's like so rich and he's this mega influencer. Yeah. And he's got all these people. And that's why Kris does well. Like they see me and they're like, Kris is this young, beautiful woman, fake hair, fake teeth, whatever it might be. That's why she sells because they always assume that other people are doing better than them for insert the reason. They don't believe that they can do it.
So this is kind of interesting. I'm actually glad that you started with this because I thought for sure, I'm like, she's going to go hard on strategy, but you're actually getting really to the core and saying, actually, how do you as the core convert to your avatar? It's like, do you show up with a level of self-belief? And also you're getting feedback loops from your people to kind of figure out where do you kind of fall short and basic elementary things like seeding the sale. I was on the phone with Cody Sperber, who in 2022 put on a Clever Summit. He had Robert Kiyosaki speaking there, had a lot of really big names. And I spoke at that event as well. And he said, Kris, we did, I think he said it was like $8 or $9 million. And
how many people were there?
I think they had around 2,500 people.
Yeah, you know that Pace Morby just did $20 million last week with 2,300 people at his event. And
I heard 10 million. So I actually
I know it's 20 million. I'm friends with him. I actually consulted with him for 2 hours at Tony and Dean.
When they did that.
Yep. And like I actually made a bet with Dean that Pace would crush it because he's number one as an amazing community. He knows how to connect with people. He's authentic and he's not an asshole.
Man, he is so he is so real and true to who he is.
Yeah, I would see that. And then not to sound mean about Corby, like I know Corby as well. And he would, or Cody, I'm sorry, Cody Spencer. He actually won number one with Pace's help last year. I was number two. And he would never close as well because he doesn't have that level of authenticity. Like so you have to have the level of authenticity, but seeding belief is a huge part about it, right? Yeah. Belief in self is the first thing that they have to believe in them. Second thing, belief in your vehicle by really showing like, this is the thing. And then thirdly, understand that they need your help. And those three things have to be interwoven from the second that you take the stage. Everyone's like, it's not about the pitch. The whole entire event is a transformational event that is done, to really transform people to say yes to themselves is what it's about.
Do you have strategies that you prefer helping people with? Like, does it matter whether it's an online event or whether it's an online challenge or a webinar or a live event?
So we teach them how to do, first run brand awareness campaigns to get their brand out there. Someone like you wouldn't need that. But what I will say is this, you are not this way. But you would not believe how many influencers are zero influential. So there's all these influencers out there that have a great audience, but they cannot fill a room or sell to save their lives. You're different. You sell high ticket. You're good at that. Most aren't. So when we're looking for someone, number one, they have to be able to at least fill a room. I mean, we've helped people get 21 people in a room that have never sold before and sell 125K. Yeah. Sell 5 high ticket 25K programs in a room of 21. Yeah. Someone that has an audience that does this well. I mean, it's not hard to I'm not surprised at all what Pace did. Like I knew he was going to kill it. I didn't think it was going to be that good, but I mean, I was like, damn, all I need is more. If I can get more people in a room, I close like Pace. Right. Yeah. But my issue is I have a harder time getting large numbers like that into a room, because the cost to acquire customer is really high. But, you need to get people to say yes to themselves and believe in it. And I'll give you another thing that people don't do is they don't seed the offer over and over again. They don't seed belief over and over again. So I'll give you an example. You do real estate, right? You help people like investors. So let's just say you're like, I have this thing, right? I've got this list right here. And on this list, every single, month, I get a list of over 100 people that want to sell their house right now under market and are looking to get it, with at least 20% equity. This list is golden, right? So they bring up this list and then they never bring it up again, or they don't continue throughout the event to remind people about the list, how they can use it, how it can help them. Like they're constantly doing that. And they're not seeding the offer enough. So they'll say it one time and they won't continue to repeat it. Yep. And if they can do that over and over again and show multiple ways, like when you say, hey, remember that list I showed you? This is a part of the offer. everyone knows what it is, how they're going to use it, how it's going to help them. And it's got to be something they absolutely will like sell their soul to have.
Yeah.
Most people don't do a lot of that, right? And
Yeah.
if you do all of that in conjunction with seeding belief, seeding offer, you will sell like a ninja.
Yeah. No, interesting that you bring up pace because at his event, the other thing he did is he released a novel product. He
Yeah.
basically created opportunity for people to get into the creative space of doing title work. And I'm like, wow, that doesn't exist. It's an idea whose time has come. And I also thought that that was interesting because he's also cutting edge. It wasn't just another mastermind,
Yeah.
which would have been cool. But part of it was actually we're bringing something unique to the table that actually doesn't exist. I thought that was really admirable.
Yeah, he's got, and I don't like a lot of what we're talking about right now doesn't really help a lot of your audience, I don't think, right? Like more of the real estate stuff does, but I mean, I'm fascinated by
Yeah, but let's bring it down actually to the most basic level because what I hear you saying is that there are a lot of people. The one piece of advice that I give everyone today that owns a business is I say you need to understand where marketing is for the next 2 decades. Like it was in TV, it was in radio. Like right now, where is it? It's in one place. It's in social media.
social media. Yeah.
When I met Grant Thompson, one of the top 100 YouTubers, and saw that he was earning $4,000 or $5,000 brand deals and sponsorships on every YouTube video he dropped, and he was bringing in millions of dollars. I remember just thinking, wow, I was looking at the companies that would identify with this brand. Like Lego would look at him as like a home science guy, and Legos is like, oh, we want to identify with that brand. Toy companies would want to identify with this brand. Anything that was that was related to family-centered fun learning and growing wanted to be related to this brand. And social media, you have this, everyone has this unique opportunity to put themselves out to the world. And basically, you don't have to aggregate, 250 million followers like Mr. Beast. It's okay if you aggregate 5,000 followers if they're people that really like jive with who you are as a human, because the world of marketing right now, I think, comes down to highly specifically aggregated audiences. And so my advice is if you're not in social and you're not putting yourself out there, but you're a business owner, I don't know what you're doing. Because it takes time to mature and build it. And once you do have that brand awareness, it can take you places. And for anyone listening to this, it's like, just ask yourself, Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, you're either an employee or you're self-employed and you're always trading time for money and you want to bounce, Krista, $1.8 million, but she was self-employed more or less. She had to bounce to business owner and investor to basically ignite a whole different level of wealth for herself. And that happened because she really started believing in herself and figuring out, I don't want to be an employee. I want to own stuff. And when you own stuff, you need social media. So I always tell people, if you're listening, I don't care if you're only going to, get 10 followers, that's a start. Because if you're in the world of business, you are in the game of influence.
Well, and that's what we like. Marketing and innovation is the backbone behind any business, right? And unfortunately, most small businesses, most professionals, they have no idea how to market, right? They're especially like realtors. They're told to do open houses, like door knock, cold call. Like when somebody knocks on my door, I am like jumping under the couch, like afraid I'm going to get robbed. I mean, I don't answer the door. Somebody calls me, I know it's a cold call. I'm hanging up. They're not taught how to market, right? And in fact, Kris, so I've been teaching a strategy called like a brand awareness marketing campaign, right? In real estate that's how when Facebook ads first came out, that's exactly how I would market, was brand awareness campaigns. Now, in fact, that's what I spoke at Funnel Hacking Live on Russell's platform, was the pre-funnel. Like, how do you market before you drive traffic to a funnel to convert so well? Because he had me speak because I had done so well so quickly as a coach. And I was like, I did brand awareness campaigns. So basically, it's so easy for a business to do. And right now, it's never been easier to get attention on social media. But because it's so easy, it's never been harder. So paying for exposure first, like you can spend $200 on a Facebook ad with the reach objective or the engagement objective on a local community. You can get 4, 5, 600 hours of watch time, hundreds of thousands of views, thousands of engagements for $200. And if you do that on social, right? If you do that over and over and over again, then when you start doing organic reach, then all of a sudden now you take the content that you're paying for, like for the cost of a few cups of coffee in a week, and you trade that for the attention, because attention is currency of your audience. And before you know it, I mean, you can just have massive, differentiation in your market. And that's what, most people, businesses, agents, And even with
Mhm.
you, like there's investors, right? And I always say, why don't these investors or people that are looking for flips, why don't they do more social media content to be known as, hey, I'm an investor. If you don't want to put your home on the market, if you want to sell your home quickly, I'm realtors. I've got I'm that person for you. They don't do that. And if they would, oh my God, it's like amazing what they could do with their
Yeah.
business, but they're not thinking about business that way.
Yeah, I look at a lot of the people that follow me, and I've got realtors, and I've got investors, and I've got business owners. And to all of them, I would say, hey, start creating some brand awareness, put yourself out to the world. And part of that is because you have to start thinking ahead. The person that approached me to do social media, I didn't care to be on YouTube. I didn't care for social media. I just got my 1 million follower plaque from YouTube.
Cool.
And it was like it took 3,200 videos and monster commitment to do that. I did that in TikTok in like no time at all. But I'm on all these social platforms, and for anyone that's listening here today, I would really strongly invite you to start thinking, okay, are you the artist like Krista once was? And what's your next move? Is it for you to achieve a level of mastery where you start training other artists? Or are you a trainer that is now training trainers? In other words, a lot of us will actually stay in a certain sphere our entire life without thinking ahead. And sometimes the next door never opens because we're not prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
Social media for so many people is that door where it's like, yeah, start a podcast, put some basic social out there, get some of the reach that Chris is talking about, because you're right. Maybe it's not essential to your business today. But wouldn't you like to wake up in 2 years to a business that says, oh my gosh, there's millions of dollars from all of these people that are hanging around me that wouldn't be here if I actually hadn't put a little money into R&D. This is what I always tell business owners. You got to always have 10 or 15% of your time and effort going into R&D, research and development. In your world, that's rip off and duplicate. It's how do we set a little bit of resource aside, not for today's winning, but for tomorrow's next step.
And something else too, you said something important, like you want to be thinking about your next move, right? And oftentimes when you are thinking bigger, people that love you and want the best for you will often encourage you not to do it. But when I told my family I was going to become a coach, I mean, they were like, Krista, normal people don't leave their $1.8 million
Yeah.
a year job to become a coach. Nobody is going to pay you. We love you, Krista, but don't do it. They didn't understand, number one, my level of commitment, my level of passion, and how much I wanted to get the hell out of real estate. I was so tired, right? So you have to be careful who you take advice from, because sometimes if you're not going to the person that's done the thing, most of the time people are going to kind of keep you stuck. So you have to be willing to surround yourself around people who are thinking bigger than you, doing bigger things, and be careful who you take advice from.
I also think that someone that's able to create $1.8 million is someone that's able to creating something bigger. I think a lot of people are afraid that, oh, I just hitting a lucky streak. It's actually not me. I'm actually not the winner. I just fell into a thing, and now I need to take advantage of it. And that's scarcity, and that's fear.
Yeah.
And so to someone who's making less than $1 million a year, they think, oh, she's got to be crazy to leave 1.8 million, no different than a non-runner saying that a marathon runner is crazy because it's just so far ahead. But wherever you're at in your life, if you're listening to this and you're saying, I make $50,000 a year, well, you've got to start doing the things that people that make $500,000 a year are to be able to get there. So you got to 10x your thinking, you got to 10x your game. And Krista, that's what you're doing with a lot of people here is you're basically saying, hey, it's time to think bigger, but also do it the right way so that
Mm-hmm.
you can get that exposure.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, there's something called the monetization multiplier, where it talks about like the more people you can reach, right? The
Mhm.
more impact you can make, the more influence you have, the more money you'll make. And so many people that's social media, right? Social media, you're getting exposure by the masses. You're marketing one to many instead of one to one. And it's just another way of
Yep.
thinking about, like realtors, door knocking, one to one, cold call, one to one, open houses, one to one, right? Marketing on social media, high value, high differentiation, marketing to the masses. That's with any business. That's how you're going to be able to increase the amount of money that you're making. Just you have to think differently about things.
Yeah, there are sometimes people that look at me like, man, Kris, you seem like you know your stuff, or you're so polished, or you have so much energy. I'm like, hey, I want you to go back and watch my first ever YouTube video. And you're gonna see this little dork that is fumbling, doesn't know how to connect to the camera really well because he did some stage work, but didn't know how to talk to the lens. And we all have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I love, Krista, that what you're doing is you're really teaching people, hey, really to start with self-belief. It starts with you believing in yourself. I think for most people that do rise and become something that people stare at or admire or want to learn from is many of us didn't have a ton of support to really come into our own. We had to actually generate that ourselves, just like you had family members that said, "Oh, why you're crazy, crabs in a bucket. Why are you leaving the 1.8?" And it's like, well, you don't know me, but I have to find my next level for
Yeah.
me to actually honor who I am in life. And sometimes that is a very alone journey. I, for years, held myself back because I thought my wife needed to support me in a certain way for me to feel comfortable. And one day I realized that she wasn't holding me back. I had created some expectations that were holding me back. And when I released them, I said, hey, I'm just going to go and I'm going to do me. I'm going to do my thing. And it was the best thing for me because even though I didn't know where it would lead, I hoped that it would become something successful. And I brought the commitment so that it would.
Well, you've crushed it. I mean, I've been watching you this week actually. I'm just like, oh, this guy, he's doing pretty good things. Like you're doing all the things, you're doing the things that people want to do, but it starts by you doing the thing. Like so many people are afraid.
So, Krista, as you put yourself out there into the world and you've achieved these higher levels, um, help me understand, like, what's your ideal perfect scenario of the people that you like to help in the world?
I like people that are go-givers. So, I mean, and I know everyone always says this, and I feel like it sounds like it's like, oh, just something you say, but I mean, I really want to help people that really want to help people. I mean, I was a teacher, so I'm kind of like a teacher at heart, right? I like people and I want to help more people. I was the kid that was playing teacher when I was a kid with my dolls. That's just kind of always who I've been. So I like to help people that really want to make an impact on people, that they care about money. Money's great. Like I want to make a ton of money, right? But I also want to make a ton of impact. And I know the more money I make, the more impact I can make. And I want to help others that have that same philosophy. I want to help more people. I want to make more of an impact. And so if we do it together, it's just it's an amazing thing, and amazing things can happen because once you're at the level of contribution in your life, like everything just changes, and I want to help more people get to a level where they can contribute more to others, but also contribute more in a philanthropy type of way.
You come traditionally from this realtor space, and the NAR was recently fined with four other major companies, this, I think, 1.8 billion or something excessive. And it's really altering the game for realtors. It's also lowering their income potential. Do you have any guesses on how you think that's going to impact the market? And also, what advice would you give to realtors that are wondering, uh-oh, who should I be in this next phase?
Oh, this is a really good question. I've been doing a ton of research and a ton of videos on this. So, and there's so many things that are coming out every single day. But here's the deal. Every other coach right now is telling agents this. You need to get your buyer agreement, your value add for buyers. You need to make sure you can explain what your value and your worth. And I say, no, you need to become a listing agent. List to last, list to exist. Yes, of course, you need to learn how to talk about your value as an agent, right? To be able to earn a commission, but you need to be able to get listings. The more you can get listings, the more you're going to dominate the market. With listings, become buyers. Now, a couple of things, and I know it's about time we need to go, but a couple of things with the NAR lawsuit is that now the ruling is this, two things. Number one, you cannot put commission on the MLS. That's one thing. It's not saying that sellers can't still pay a commission. Sellers can still pay a commission. They can pay all of it. They can pay none of it. It can still be negotiated. It just cannot be on the MLS. The second thing is that you need a buyer broker agreement while you're working with the buyer, which in most states that's already supposed to be happening. We've always encouraged a buyer broker agreement. But the difference is in the buyer broker agreement now, it says that buyers are ultimately responsible for the commission. So if a seller's not willing to pay the commission, then the buyers have to pay the commission, whatever's agreed upon between the buyer and the agent. But again, the commission can still be paid for by the seller. Now, this is so funny. I've got to say this. So Zillow comes out. Now, Zillow is a business, right? They monopolize the listings. They market our listings on the MLS. Then they sell advertising space. So if somebody inquires about a listing, they sell that buyer or that seller to 30 agents or however many it is. And all these agents are paying a massive amount of money for these leads. So Zillow comes out with this. We're going to help the consumer. We're going to help realtors. We've got this new tour this new tour agreement. It says that you can basically tour a buyer without them paying you for 7 whole days and just show them all the property without them having to pay you or hire you. And this is our goodwill to have transparency in the market. And I'm like, this is the biggest bunch of crap I've ever heard. Number one, don't sign a buyer broker 7-day tour agreement that says you can, shuffle around a buyer for 7 days at no cost and no compensation. It doesn't need 7 days. It needs about 1 or 2 homes. It needs a really good consultation with the buyer to show your value add. Don't use that form. Be smarter than that. That form is not to help you. That form is to get Zillow more exposure and to make the transition for them simpler. So just be careful who you take advice from.
Wow, I love it. So, man, really been amazing, Krista, connecting with you. For those that want to learn more about you and follow you, first of all, where do they find you on social media?
It's Krista Mashore. So it's with a K and Mashore. So Krista Mashore, they can find me all over socials.
And then if they go to KristaMashore.com/Krohn, Krohn, what will happen?
They'll get access to go to one of our 2-day virtual events where we talk all about either how to become an expert coach or consultant and sell your knowledge, or how to stand out as a real estate professional, utilizing marketing and innovation.
Guys, I'm just going to tell you, like, Krista has the results. She has the resume. I believe she's a beautiful soul and an incredible human being. So I'd recommend that you reach out, that you connect with her, find out more of who you are in this world, build that brand, set yourself up for success this year, but don't just do it for this year, do it for your future, because I'm telling you, that is where the market is going, and all of its advertising and all of its marketing for the next 2 decades. And anyone that is not getting, if you're a business owner, you're not on social, just it's a little bit of shame on you, because you're going to hurt yourself, but you don't know the tune to how much. Most people, when they actually crack the code a little bit and they start making money, they're like, wait a second, I had no idea. If I had known, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
And so, for anyone that's out there, it's just like, I think Krista is a great, beautiful soul for you to connect with. Krista, any last advice for our listeners?
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I always say this, that knowledge is not power. The implementation of it is. You got to actually go out there and, like, listening is amazing, but you got to actually do the thing. So thanks for having me, Kris. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Krista. Everyone else, we'll see you on the next Kris Krohn Show.